Let's get started with our first news story. Coach wants Volkanovski versus Evloev next, and he's not holding back. History was made at UFC 314 when Alexander Volkanovski stepped back into the octagon and silenced all the doubts. After suffering a brutal knockout loss to Ilia Topuria, many questioned whether Volk still had it in him, but on that night, under the bright lights, he answered those questions with a performance for the ages. In a back-and-forth war against rising star Diego Lopez, Volkanovski showed heart, grit, and determination, reclaiming his featherweight title in what many are calling one of the most thrilling fights of the year. Now the big question is, what's next? In a recent interview with Submission Radio, Volkanovski's longtime coach Joe Lopez made it crystal clear Movsar Evloev should be next in line. Lopez didn't hesitate. He named the number 4 ranked contender as the only man who truly deserves the next title shot. Joe said, and I quote, "What do you think, man? Are you excited about the potential of him being next?" Some might say, look, it's maybe not the most exciting fight, but Lopez fired back. He's done so much in the division. He deserves his crack at the title. And he's not wrong. Evloev is undefeated. He's 12-0 in the UFC, with victories over tough opponents like Dan Ige, Diego Lopez, and Arnold Allen. He's been climbing the ladder, step by step, doing everything right, yet somehow he keeps getting left out of the title conversation. At the UFC 314 post-fight presser, there was no mention of Evloev, none. Media and fans were talking about names like Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, even a potential rematch with Max Holloway, but not Evloev. That's the problem. He's not flashy, he's not loud, he doesn't cut viral promos, but when it comes to skill, he's among the best. Joe Lopez admitted, "It's up to the powers that be. We were supposed to get that shot with Ilia, but they gave it to Max instead." And that's the truth in this game. It's not always about who deserves it, it's about who sells the most pay-per-views. Still, if we're talking about merit, then Movsar Evloev has earned his shot. He's paid his dues, and if the UFC really values competition, they'll give him what he's worked so hard for. Only time will tell. Moving on to our second news. Michael Chandler is facing some serious backlash from the MMA community, and this time, it's hard to defend him. At UFC 314, Chandler suffered his 3rd consecutive loss, and this one might be the most devastating of them all. He was stopped in the 3rd round by none other than Paddy Pimblett, a fighter many believed Chandler would handle with ease. But that wasn't the case. Chandler looked flat, slow, and completely out of rhythm. This loss now drops his UFC record to just 2 wins and 5 losses since his much-hyped debut back in 2021. And let's be honest, that's not a good look. The hype that once surrounded Iron Mike is starting to feel like a distant memory. The internet absolutely ripping him apart. Take a glance at the comments section on his latest Instagram post and you'll see fans showing no mercy. One user wrote, "Why did the UFC even sign you? Feeling sad for Chandler. You wasted your life singing for Conor and got smoked by Paddy. LMAO, retire. Just retire, bro. It's enough." Another comment slammed him even harder. "Saved all the punches for practice and motivational videos, but didn't bring them to the cage. 11 significant strikes in a 5-round fight with Paddy Pimblett? Retire, bro. I hope your kids weren't watching. That was embarrassing." And it's not just fans who are speaking out. Henry Cejudo, in an interview with MMA Junkie, said Chandler should seriously consider retirement. He probably has to get one more, and then think about walking away. That's a lot of beatings, man. Chandler could have been the best, but he's too much of a crowd pleaser. That's really bit him in the ass. Cejudo even compared Chandler to Mike Perry, saying, "There's only so much time before the UFC says, 'Thanks for the excitement, but we're moving on.'" Michael Bisping echoed those thoughts on his YouTube channel. "I don't say this lightly, but that was a career-killing performance. Yeah, he'll fight again. Yeah, he'll make money, but the idea of Chandler being a title contender, that's over. Paddy Pimblett just ended that chapter." Bisping finished with the harsh truth. If Chandler was 30, maybe he could bounce back. But he's 38 years old, Father Time is undefeated, and Chandler's title dreams, they're done now. Onto another big headline. Paddy Pimblett reveals why he didn't call out Ilia Topuria after UFC 314. Given the documented beef between Paddy and Topuria, fans expected the baddie to use his win over Chandler as an opportunity to throw down the gauntlet, but surprisingly, Pimblett didn't even mention Topuria. If you watched UFC 314, then you know. After forcing the ref to stop the fight and saving a blood-soaked Chandler from more damage, Pimblett called out Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, and Charles Oliveira, but not Ilia. So what gives? During the post-fight press conference, Paddy was asked about it. His response was classic Pimblett. To be honest, I forgot about him. I forgot all about him, or I would have mentioned him in the cage. You know what I mean? Paddy continued. I don't call him Unsanitizer Boy anymore. He's now IT. But like I said, I literally forgot all about him. That's how irrelevant he is. Pimblett pointed out that he is ranked higher than Ilia at lightweight. I'd love to welcome him to 155, but apparently he's sitting out and waiting for a title shot. Paddy didn't stop there. He boldly said, "You saw what I just did to Chandler. That was the blueprint to beating him. Ilia, he's even more of a 9 than Chandler is. I'll do the exact same thing to him." Pimblett also spoke with TNT after his win. When asked about Ilia again, he fired off. "He should know I'm the real deal. People still underestimate me. I was ranked 15th, just beat ranked 7th. Give me anyone. Ilia, I should be the one to welcome you to 155. We can do it now, buddy." Now, there's no doubt that before UFC 314, not everyone believed Paddy could hang with the division's elite. One of those skeptics? Conor McGregor. Reportedly, McGregor bet $500,000 on Chandler to beat Paddy. When asked about this bet, Paddy smirked and said, "Cheeky little. I didn't expect that from Conor. If you want to come back, I'm here, son. I'm waiting." Could we possibly see McGregor versus Pimblett? That would be a massive fight. Back to Topuria. During the post-fight press conference, Dana White was asked about Ilia's next bout. Dana simply said, "We're working on it. He's one of the biggest stars in the company. If we had something planned, we'd have announced it already." Colby Covington goes off on Paddy Pimblett. Things got heated behind the scenes at UFC 314 when Colby Covington and Paddy Pimblett found themselves in a tense backstage altercation. Cameras from ESPN managed to capture part of the moment, and let's just say it was anything but calm. Words were exchanged, threats were thrown, security had to step in before it escalated into a full-blown brawl. Now, days after the event, Colby has broken his silence in a brand new video on his YouTube channel. And he didn't hold back. Colby began by describing how it all started. There was one little scuffle backstage. "You know, Paddy wanted to say some shitty when I was walking by, so I had to confront him. I had to let him know he's a little boy." From there, Covington launched a full-on verbal assault on the rising British star. He mocked Paddy's level of competition, saying he wants to act like he's relevant, like he's some superstar. He's a nobody, bro. You've never headlined an event, never been a top contender. You're a scrub. And of course, it wouldn't be a Colby rant without some signature insults. He tore into Paddy's looks and accent. The only reason people even talk about him is because he looks like Ellen DeGeneres and talks with an English accent. That's it. That's the only thing making him marketable. But Colby wasn't done. He made it crystal clear that he thinks Pimblett is clout chasing, using his name to stay in the spotlight. "Paddy needs to stop running my name through his mouth. He's using me to stay relevant because he's never accomplished anything. He's never gonna get a title shot, never gonna win a belt. He's just another irrelevant bum." Covington also fired shots at Paddy's weight class and his struggles with making weight. He starts cutting all that weight, cutting chromosomes, when he finally wants to come to a real man's weight class and fight a real man. Then he can get his ass whooped. And the message to Pimblett was loud and clear. Keep my name out of your mouth or you'll end up with my foot in your ass. This feud is just getting started. Would you watch Covington versus Pimblett? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Moving forward, Paddy Pimblett goes off on Arman Tsarukyan again. The verbal war between Paddy and Arman is starting to get personal, and after Pimblett's dominant performance at UFC 314, he's back at it, firing more shots at the #1 ranked lightweight contender. Ever since Arman Tsarukyan pulled out of his scheduled title fight with Islam Makhachev at UFC 311 due to a reported back injury, Paddy hasn't let him breathe. And now that Paddy's stock is higher than ever, he's not backing down. In a post-fight interview with TNT Sports, Pimblett was asked about a possible fight with Arman. His response, classic Paddy. That's another name. Let's see if he takes the fight, because we all know what Arman's like. He'll shat his undies the night before and pull out. That's a direct hit. No filter, no hesitation. Pimblett continued, I can't be dealing with opponents like that. I want people who I know will show up. Like Chandler. Say what you want about him, but the man shows up to fight. It's clear that Paddy sees Arman as unreliable, and he's not interested in wasting a training camp on someone who might not make it to the cage. Now, let's talk reality. A fight between Pimblett and Tsarukyan would be massive, both in terms of rankings and attention. With Arman currently holding the #1 contender spot, a win for Paddy would be career-changing. It would likely secure him a title shot, something he's been chasing since joining the UFC. But here's the real question. Will the UFC book this fight? While Paddy versus Arman makes sense from a sporting angle, it may not be the most lucrative option for the UFC. Fights with Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, or even Charles Oliveira would pull bigger numbers and draw more casual fans, so there's a good chance the UFC might skip the risk and go for a more bankable matchup. Still, Paddy versus Arman is the kind of fight that brings bad blood, tension, and stylistic fireworks, the ingredients fans love. But now we turn it over to you. Could Paddy Pimblett actually beat Arman Tsarukyan if they stepped into the cage together? Let us know what you think in the comments. Would it be Paddy's charisma or Arman's pressure that comes out on top? Next up, Khamzat Chimaev teases his next UFC fight. Fans have been waiting patiently, or maybe not so patiently, to find out what's next for the undefeated Khamzat Chimaev, and it looks like we may be getting very close to an announcement. During the UFC 314 post-fight press conference, UFC President Dana White was asked about a potential fight between Chimaev and middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis, possibly scheduled for International Fight Week in July. The reporter asked point blank, is Khamzat Chimaev next for DDP? Dana's response, as vague and mysterious as ever. He simply said, we'll decide everything on Tuesday. No confirmations, no denial, just Tuesday. But guess who might already know what's coming? Khamzat Chimaev. Just hours after the press conference, Chimaev took to X, formerly known as Twitter, and dropped a cryptic but very telling post. Just 2 words. Good news. Now for a guy like Chimaev, who doesn't speak in riddles or waste time hyping up nothing, that post speaks volumes. The MMA community instantly went into detective mode. Does this mean the fight is signed? Is it DDP? Is it someone else? Could it even be a title eliminator if du Plessis is unavailable? But most signs are pointing to one matchup, Chimaev vs du Plessis, likely for the middleweight title, and possibly as the main event for International Fight Week, one of the UFC's biggest cards of the year. Let's break it down. Chimaev is undefeated, dominant, a destroyer who's walked through everyone. Du Plessis just beat Sean Strickland in a war to capture UFC gold. Stylistically, this would be wild. Khamzat's relentless pressure and grappling versus Dricus' awkward but dangerous striking. This has the makings of a high-stakes, chaotic showdown, and if it happens at UFC in July, that would be absolutely massive, but we'll have to wait just a bit longer for that official announcement. Like Dana said, we'll decide everything on Tuesday. Until then, we can only speculate. So let's hear from you. Are you excited for Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis? Would Khamzat dominate, or will DDP shock the world again and defend his belt? Drop your predictions below. This one's gonna be crazy. And finally, Israel Adesanya was in the building for UFC 314. The atmosphere at UFC 314 was electric, and the star power in attendance only added to the magic of the night. One of the biggest names spotted cage side was none other than the former 2-time middleweight champion, Israel the Last Stylebender Adesanya. Now fans were already buzzing over the epic performances delivered during the main card, but new behind-the-scenes footage has surfaced that shows just how much respect and love there is between these top-tier fighters. In the footage, Adesanya is seen personally congratulating both Paddy Pimblett and Alexander Volkanovski following their incredible victories. Despite not competing himself, Izzy took the time to approach both men with genuine admiration and humility. He looked both warriors in the eye and said, "Thank you very much, congrats. I want to stop counting you out. I respect you." That's right, even Israel, who's known for his confidence and competitive nature, showed total class in recognizing the grit, heart, and talent that both Paddy and Volk displayed inside the octagon. And honestly, it's moments like this that really highlight what makes MMA so special. Sure, there's trash talk, sure, there's hype and rivalry, but at the end of the day, this sport is built on mutual respect. It's about fighters stepping into the cage, putting everything on the line, and afterward being able to look each other in the eye and say, "You earned it." That's what Adesanya did, and fans are loving it. The clip has already gone viral on social media, with fans praising Izzy for his humility and sportsmanship. Many even said this was a real champion moment, showing that no matter how many wins or losses are on your record, respect between warriors is what lasts the longest. And of course, this appearance has sparked speculation about what's next for Adesanya himself. Could he be preparing for a return? Could we see him back during International Fight Week? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, he's watching and he's paying attention. So now, we want to hear from you. What did you think of these emotional moments behind the scenes? Do you respect fighters more after seeing the sportsmanship that goes down after the wars are over? And which potential matchups are you most excited for after UFC 314? Let us know in the comments below.